We can start. Bom dia a todos, bonjour à toutes et tous, et good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this first WBI Confap activity on the topic of research and innovation. I'm Alexandre Koflo, head of desks for Latin America countries at WBI, and I will be the moderator of today's webinar. Our agenda today is quite tight, so I'll make it quick. So the webinar will be structured as follows. So first we will have an introduction by Mr. Christian Garret, the General Inspector of the WBI, and Mr. Odir Delagostin. Then we will have a presentation of the MOU that was signed by WBI and Confap last summer. Then a presentation of Wallonia's research priorities, followed by a presentation of different FAPs. Then a presentation of funding tools targeting the private sector, and finally closing session with question and answer. Note that during the presentation, please turn off your microphone and your camera. Note that the webinar is recorded. And if you have any question during the presentation, please use the chat on your right part of the screen, and we will collect all the questions and answer it after all the presentations. I now give the floor to Mr. Garret, who will have to leave after his speech. He's sorry about it, but he has another meeting. So now, Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandre. Dear colleagues, caros colegas, bom dia, good afternoon. We are very pleased to welcome you to this first joint event of WBI and Confap in the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding signed in August between our two institutions. This online seminar aims to present the different research stakeholders of both partners, as well as the research and innovation priorities of Wallonia. The priorities that will be presented in a moment by the Walloon competitiveness clusters are related to Wallonia's Plan Marshall, an economic development strategy that implemented during the last decade a bold policy of industrial innovation. The implementation of competitiveness clusters through the funding of innovative research projects involving the industry, research centers, and universities in 6 key high-tech areas: life sciences, aerospace, agri-food, clean tech, mechanical engineering, and logistics. On top of the 7.4 billion euros investment made during the Plan Marshall and the activities that are promoted by the competitiveness clusters, the Walloon government launched end of 2019 a strategy based on strategic innovation areas and defined the innovation priorities for the next years. They confirm and complement the 6 areas defined by the Plan Marshall and will focus on renewable materials, health and biotechnologies, Industry 4.0, additive manufacturing, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence, sustainable energy and construction, agri-food of the future, and environment. Besides its competitiveness clusters led by the industry, the Walloon region also has a network of 19 approved research centers active in all fields of expertise. Eventually, and complementing the economic competencies of the Walloon region, the Wallonie-Bruxelles Federation represents 6 universities for a population of 4.5 million inhabitants and nearly 11,500 researchers working on public funds. In total, almost 300 million euros are paid each year by the Fédération Wallonie-Bruxelles for basic research. In this context, academic exchanges are a successful tradition between our universities and higher education institutions. More than 200 Brazilian students study each year in our universities. In addition to research, academic and cultural exchanges, Brazil is a major partner for Wallonie-Bruxelles in terms of trade and investment. It is the first market in Latin America for Wallonia with more than 440 million euro of exchanges in 2019. The strong interest towards cooperation with Brazilian partners has been evidenced by the fact that a delegation of 15 researchers from universities, research centers, and representatives from Wallonie-Bruxelles, including the CEO of WBI and a journalist, visited Brazil in March 2020, just before the lockdown, with a focus on health and biotechnologies. 4 cities in 5 days: Sao Paulo, Campinas, Rio de Janeiro, and Brasilia. This mission allowed us to identify several potential projects and to discuss our collaboration with Confap that is now official. Thanks to this new funding instrument between WBI and Confap, we'll be able to further strengthen our collaborations in science and technology, contributing therefore to our internationalization and economic development. Our scientific liaison officer, Julie Dumont, based in Sao Paulo, will help implement this agreement through the identification and matching of relevant partners on both sides, supported by our academic and cultural liaison officer, Elodie Meunier, based in Belo Horizonte. This will only be possible thanks to the help of our Brazilian partners, to whom I now leave the floor. Thank you very much. Muito obrigada.
Thank you, Christian. Now we give the floor to Professor Odir Delagostin, the President of Confap.
Good morning for everyone in Brazil. Good afternoon for those in Belgium. It's a pleasure to take part in this discussion, this webinar. I think it's a good opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit more and to strengthen our collaboration. It's good that we have a memorandum of understanding already signed, and so now we have to pave the way to effective collaboration. I'd like to share my screen and show a couple of slides. Just a minute. And just to put in perspective, sorry, just to put in perspective, collaboration that already exists. We are not starting from scratch here. Just to compare the two countries, well, Belgium, we are talking now about the Walloon part in Brussels. If we compare Belgium and Brazil, Brazil is much larger than Belgium. I don't want to. The idea is not to show off here, but just to put in perspective. In terms of population, the population of Belgium is about 5.5% of the population of Brazil. If we compare research output, scholarly output, back in 1996, Brazil produced less papers than Belgium. Brazil has grown very fast and very well during these last 25 years, as has also Belgium grown, and not as in the same speed, but it has also shown a very constant growth in terms of scholarly output. When we compare Belgian and Brazilian collaboration, we already have a large number of researchers collaborating here, more than 8,000 researchers during this period of 5 years, 5 to 6 years, 2015 to 2020, collaborating with more than 5.5 thousand authors. Yes, more than 5,500 authors in Belgium. And we can see here that this collaboration is good for both countries. When we measure field-weighted citation impact of Brazilian output, it's less than 1. Belgian output is 1.67, and publications co-authored by Brazilians and Belgians, the field-weighted citation impact is much higher. It's at 4.8. Therefore, it shows that it's beneficial for both countries. The main areas of collaboration is medicine, followed by physics and astronomy, biochemistry, genetics, agriculture, and biological sciences. But several other areas are also subject of collaboration between researchers from the two countries. In terms of balance of trade, just to have an idea, Belgium exports to Brazil, this is data from 2018, mainly medical products, serum and vaccines, drugs, and other products. In terms of Brazilian exports to Belgium, it's mainly agricultural products, fruit juice, coffee, and several other products. You can see here in terms of value, Belgium exports more to Brazil than Brazil to Belgium, $3.4 billion against 3.0 billions. This is just to put in perspective, and I think with this, I want to say that it's very important for us, international collaboration, and to be able to strengthen the collaboration that we already had with Belgium, and especially with Wallonia region. It's very good, it's important to us, and I just need to end my sharing. Okay, it's very important to us. So I think we're going to have a very productive talk here, and with that I stop my talking here, and Alexander, please.
Thank you, Professor Delagostin. I will give the floor now to Julie Demont, our scientific liaison officer based in Sao Paulo. She will present the MOU that was signed this summer between WBI and Confap.
Thank you, Alexandre. Good morning, everyone, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to get to know a bit all of our partners of Confap and the research foundations in Brazil. I will now share my screen. Okay, I will be very brief. So, about the Confap WBI agreement, this is a new tool to foster international research between Brazil and Wallonia. It adds up to existing tools that we already have. For academic research, we indeed have an agreement between WBI and CAPES, and also WBI and FAPERJ that was initiated at the same time we started talking with Confap. We also have academic agreement between FNRS, which is the National Fund for Scientific Research in French-speaking Belgium, which is dedicated to basic research, essentially, that has an agreement with PAPESP and also with CNPq to be reactivated. And on the company and research center point of view, we have the Walloon region represented today by Thierry Lemoine and Pierre Demoitier, with other tools that are ERANET and CORNET programs, as well as Beware, linked to the EMBRAPI programs. So, but as for the Confap WBI agreement, this new tool will allow researchers from all Brazil, through all PAPs, research foundations in Brazil, and Wallonie-Bruxelles to realize field studies, to develop joint research projects, and to organize joint activities such as seminars and missions together. The scientific areas targeted are all scientific areas, although on the Wallonie-Bruxelles side, we have privileged areas that correspond to the priorities of the competitiveness clusters, as mentioned by Christian Carret earlier, and that will be presented later on. These are life sciences, agricultural sciences, and agri-food technologies, engineering sciences, including logistics and aerospace, and eventually environmental and digital technologies. The agreement will allow the funding of short-term missions and doctorate and postdoctorate research for 1 up to 12 months, and in case of a PhD sandwich, up to 18 months. The evaluation will be done according to international criteria of scientific quality, relevancy of the objectives, the methodology, the quality and reputation of the research team, and of course, coherence and international added value. The launch of the first call is foreseen for the first trimester of 2021, should the pandemic allow. And you will have as contact person Alexandre for the institutional aspects at WBI, myself for the identification of partners and competencies in Belgium and also in Brazil. And on the Brazilian institutional level, you will have Elisa Anatola as a Confap contact person, and as well as the program managers that will be designated by the FAPs. So we will all be at your disposal to implement this agreement, and we are looking forward to working together. Thank you, obrigada.
Thank you, Julie. So this is it for the introduction of this webinar. So now we will go to the presentation of Wallonia research priorities. And we will start with Mr. Marc Deschamps, who is the International Relations Director of BioWin.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. So I'm sharing my screen now. Please tell me when you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
So good morning, bon dia to everyone. So my intentions during the 5 minutes we have is really to present the life science health cluster of Wallonia, so the ecosystem. So BioWin is the competitiveness cluster, as it was mentioned by the previous speaker, for the life science. So clearly the gateway to health, biotech and medtech excellence. So BioWin was created in 2006 by the Walloon government. BioWin is a non-profit organization, publicly and privately funded, and really focused on innovation and acceleration of innovation. So the approach is really to gather all the stakeholders we have in a life science ecosystem, so all the value chain. So we have for sure the public institutions and the government, but also all type of companies, large, medium, small startups, research institutes and universities, education organizations, hospitals, and capital providers, whether they are public or private. And the role of BioWin is clearly to connect this ecosystem with other clusters, but also with global markets like we do today. So the research priorities or the smart specialization of Wallonia in life science is composed by 6 strategic domains. The first one you can see in the center of the slide is really about biopharmacy, biomanufacturing, including cell therapy. This is a very big priority, strategic priority for the sector and for BioWin to continue to stimulate innovation in that field. But what is particular also to Wallonia is the radiation applied to health. And we have also medical device in vitro diagnostic. And an emerging area, which is also a strategic priority for BioWin and for the ecosystem, is data science, digital health. And we are pushing hard today to develop this part of the ecosystem as well. So what BioWin is doing is beyond organizing event and communication for the members. It's really, as I said at the beginning, to support innovation, to support research and innovation project. So it could be within the ecosystem, but it could be also, as it was said by Mrs. Dumont, with international partners. And next to that, we have also international business development. So we support the internationalization of the companies. We support also the growth of the SMEs, including the fundraising. And we don't deliver skills training, but we act as a strategic advisor for the authorities in order to make sure that they understand what are the needs of today for the ecosystem to continue to develop activities, but also and even more the needs of tomorrow, because you will see that we have a very fast developing life science ecosystem in Wallonia. And if the region is composed by 3.6 million inhabitants, we have more than 50,000 people working directly or indirectly in the biopharmaceutical industry in Wallonia. As it was also mentioned, for vaccines, but also for biologics, for ATMPs, and medical device diagnostic in vitro. But the majority of these 50,000 people are really involved in the biopharmacy, biomanufacturing, cell therapy field. And this employment is growing very steadily since 2005 by 7.7%, more or less, for all type of companies. If we take just the SMEs, you can see that the growth is even bigger, so the basis is lower, but the growth is 13%, but with a big acceleration the last 4 or 5 years. And this is the same also for the accumulated private capital raised by the SMEs of the ecosystem. So you can see that since 2005 up to September 2020, we speak about almost 3 billion euros, but 65% of this amount was raised the last 5 years. So again, it is a very nice testimonial about the fast developing, the maturity of this ecosystem and the maturity of the companies, SMEs in particular, moving from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 and or going even on the market. We have to come back on research. We have also very important private R&D investment a year. 1 billion, 1.2 billion euros a year, which is substantial. And the biopharma sector, you spoke beforehand about the export. The biopharma sector represents more than 27% of the total Walloon export, because the last figures are speaking about 32-33%. So it is clearly the main industrial activity in terms of added value and clearly the driving force of the growth of the region. I would say also maybe the lead of the new Walloon economy. And to come back on the research innovation project, so since the creation of BioWin, 158 million euro non-dilutive money was raised for consortia in order to create new IP, new assets, new startups. And this is really one of the main activities of BioWin. And so just to finish my presentation, I would like to show you that if we look to the spread of the only the Walloon BioWin members, you see that the strategic domain are very well represented, because we have 31 companies in biopharmacy, 18 in biomanufacturing, and 8 in cell therapy. Again, these 3 categories represent 75% of the employment, but the others are developing also quite fast. So 11 companies in radiation applied to health, 42 in medical device in vitro diagnostic, 12 in data science, and also all the support companies. So as a conclusion, so you will see that the members of BioWin are quite diversified. We have 233 members, at least by the end of 2019, with Clearly, global leaders like GSK Vaccines, UCB Pharma. We have also Baxter, Zoetis, Pfizer Animal Health, and big CDMO like Urgentech, Polypeptide. Master Cells was recently bought by Catalent, is Catalent Biologics for cell therapy. IBA leader in proton therapy, IRE for the production of radioisotope, but the bulk is really composed by innovative SMEs, 187, including Walloon companies and all the startups which are actually developed from the academy. And to come back to the academy, you can see that next to that we have the 5 universities with 400 research units, 7 private research centers, in total 11,000 researchers working in the field in Wallonia, and 20,000 hospital beds. So I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Obrigado.
Thank you, Mr. Deschamps. It was a very quick but very interesting presentation. I forgot to mention that it would be very nice if after this seminar we could share these slides. So if you could send it to Julie Dumont and Cédric Capet, it would be very good after to share it. So now we will hear someone from Greenwin, Gilles Colson or Françoise Kepers. So now I give you the floor.
So can you hear me? Hello, hello everybody.
Yes, we can hear you.
Obviously, I'm Françoise. So Gilles is stuck in another meeting for a major event we're organizing next week. Sorry about that. He's really sad he can't attend now. So I'm going to share the video that I want. I normally share it on. Let me see. Where is it? Ooh. Sorry about that. Oh, I've lost it. Sorry. Julie? Do you have the slides that Gilles has sent to you? Because I have lost them in the process of connecting me.
Cédric should have them. Cédric,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
There, thank you very much. Here we are. Sorry about this problem. So we can go straight to the second slide. So Greenwin basically is one of the 6 innovation clusters based in Wallonia, like BioIn, and Mark has explained what BioIn was about just right now. There are a lot of similarities in our structuring and raison d'être. Greenwin is dedicated to 3 different activity sectors, which is chemistry, construction, building, and environment. So, and we are spreading our focuses and priorities on 9 different strategic activity fields, which are all displayed on the top of the graphic design you've got on the screen right now: green chemistry, CO2 transformation and capture, biotechnology, sustainable materials, energy stockage and efficiency, as well as a construction system for construction. And then regarding the environment, we've got the recycling, soils and sediments, depollution and valorization, as well as wastes, water, sludges, air and emission treatments. So it's an innovation cluster that might be considered as a 3-head one. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, we are very, very focused as well on circular economy and on digital transition for all these sectors. So it's very important in every of our projects that we deal with this aspect as well. So key facts and figures for Greenwin are the following. So we have more or less the same amount of members this year as it was in last year and 2 years ago. So it's roughly a little bit less than 200 members with 29 large companies and a majority of small and medium enterprises. We have also the research centers. We work with 16 research centers. We work with the same universities as BioIn. Chemistry is a big chunk of our project on a more or less equal basis as construction, with a little smaller portion for environment, as you can see on our slides. We have also a portfolio now actually of 46 projects, which are summing up to 140 million euros. It's a bit more than on these slides. And we deal with 5 European projects and 2 as coordinator of these projects. Those projects, so there is one which is a very big success story we are very proud of, is Scott, which has ended up in the creation of an international association called CO2 Value Europe, which is gathering industrials who are focused on transforming CO2 into noble material for construction or other applications, taking part into the reduction of CO2 in the atmosphere. We also have the LCIP, which is basically we took part into a project of the European Commission for enabling small and medium enterprises to carry out life cycle analysis into their projects. You have to know we are the only innovation cluster in Belgium who are using LCA in every single of our projects. It's at the heart of them, from the beginning up to the end. So it's not just one thing we do as a premises or in ignition procedure. It's something which is studied during the whole project duration. We also work for bio-based industry project called Agrichem Way, where we are using whey from dairy farming to produce a circular economic model into the rural areas of Ireland, but that will be replicated in other countries around Europe. And then the freshest one, which is Ferti Manure, is also a bio-based farming and circular economic project, but mostly using manure. And there we have 2 countries from Latin America which are involved. It's Chile and Argentina, who has joined us on board of this project, and where we will try to equal the quality and stability of production of fertilizers that are usually fossil-based ones with bio-based ones. So the average per year projects we have are 6 certified projects per year, with an average size of budget of 16 million euros. And we are very active, as Marque certainly, on international networking with a database of active database, I would say dynamic one, of 800 contacts worldwide. And we organized the Green Chemistry Wide Biotechnology conferences with more or less 300 people attending every year. And we also have created a new kind of conferences, actually the one we are working on at the moment, dedicated to construction. And this is the 2nd edition we are running, and we have 130 people attending online because we don't have any other choice given the circumstances. So basically, the sector as such weighs 85,000 jobs in total. And then the last slide is about the kind of project we are supporting. There are 4 types of projects we're supporting: the R&D, innovation, and market, for new products, services, and innovation processes. And then the training one, which is a bit weaker at the moment, but as Mark explained, we are there as a backup as well to encourage the creation of new kind of jobs and of métiers, as we say in French. And then also investment projects are important for us as well. We are focusing on it as well to enable companies to de-risk their investment when they really want to launch something tangible in terms of production processes. And also we create technological platform, because collaborative innovation also imply collaboration on other aspects, like sharing human resources and skills and pooling together the efforts, because we have a very big base of small and medium enterprises, and without this mutualization, it would be very hard for them to survive in the world we live in. So I don't know if there is another slide. I think there is just maybe the thank you one. Yeah, thank you for listening. And for further details, I guess Julie will send you Jazz details, or Jazz or Jill, like Gilberto, because we pronounce Jill in French. So I don't know if you have any questions.
So thank you, Mrs. Schippers. We will keep the questions for the the hand, or please share it on the chat part. It was a very interesting presentation from Greenwin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will now give the floor to Skywin, Mr. Anthony Bivalès.
Unmuting now. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm just checking to share the presentation. Here we go. Is that a go? Do you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So hello, everyone. Good morning to our Brazilian friends. Skywin is a cluster as all basically the same impact and intention as all my colleagues before and after. We are concentrating on the industries of aeronautics, space, as well as drones, engineering, specialties that are related to these domains, and defense parts on anything that flies in defense. We join large companies and small companies as the others, linked to all the universities and research centers related to our fields. There is a very important specialty of simulation in Belgium, both for the research center and in the engineering, private engineering sector. So I'll come back to that. Of course, we as well are a connector within these companies, between the companies and the research centers in the heart of Europe. Maybe something specific as far as I've heard, we do already have some international partners, as you see, mainly in the French-speaking part of the world, but we have MOUs with two entities in Canada and 3 in France, as well as in Luxembourg, and we are members of all the major cluster of clusters in Europe for our aerospace and defense. So if you need a contact in Europe, don't hesitate to contact us. Some figures: 90 of our members are active in the air sector. Two of the big ones, we have Safran as Safran Aero Boosters for mid and long haul aircrafts. We have Sonaca that provides some parts of the wing edges, and as I mentioned, computer simulation suites. We are part of the Siemens suite if people are specialists here. We have some other added software providers, composite and metallic materials, lots of research in there. Sensors and electronics has always been a good activity in Wallonia. In the space sector, we are hosting the Thales Alenia Space factory in Belgium. We specialize in power management systems and onboard electronics, as well as solar panel recently. Very nice startup, which is actually scale up now, Aerospace Lab, who raised 11 million euros in about a year, and now 60 people working to provide constellation of satellites to provide intelligence and data analysis from space to ground, and other specialists in the areas. In the research facilities that may be of interest, in Liège, we have CSL providing very large scale vacuum chambers and shakers for satellites, and Cyclotron, which is a particle accelerator in Le Vananeuve, providing services as well for heavy and light ions for to make sure that everything is okay before shipping to sea, shipping to space, sorry. The main domains of interest are materials, composites, and metallic, electronics and embedded systems, both for all drones, aero and spatial activities, modeling and numerical simulation, as I mentioned before, some airport services, and of course the application systems on flights. You can see here on the plane for the aero parts, all the parts that Walloon partners are providing or providing parts of. The main focus of Skywin, as I would like to mention, is a collaborative R&D projects. As I mentioned, we already have partners internationally, and we have currently one project ongoing with international partners from Canada, and one that is currently being developed with French partners. So the typical project that we do in Wallonia are 2 companies and 2 research units. Typical figures is 1 to 5 million euros total budget for 2 to 4 years. And there's been already more than 50 projects funded in 12 years of existence. And if any company in Brazil or research center is interested, don't hesitate to contact us. There will be a split basically for all parts to arrange. Wallonia part will finance the Walloon sector, and from Brazil, well, you will have to find a way to finance, but we have track records, so we are quite proud of that. That is specifically the project I was mentioning. So I'll let you a second to read the title. If you are not of the domain, that would be a little interest, but if you are in the domain, that will be quite interesting. So that's it for me. David Pratt is my colleague who is handling the international relations. Is always overseas when it's possible due to COVID situation. I'm filling in for him today. Yeah, the message is don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bieveles. It was really also interesting. We will now hear Yuan Chai from Wagralim.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sharing my screen. Please tell me if this is okay. Can you see the change or not?
Not yet. Ah, there it is. It's coming.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm representing the agri-food innovation clusters of Wallonia, which was created in 2006, as my colleague said. And since we have limited time, I won't explain all our services, which are quite similar to what we presented until now. Actually, I will go through shortly to present our cluster strategy axis and illustrate them with some R&D collaborative project examples. So Wagralim, like the others, we are one of the 6 competitive sectors of Wallonia. We have 3 main strategic areas which covered with a transversal objective, build a sustainable and circular agri-food system. The 3 axes are listed here, and I will go through it with some R&D project example to make it clear. So
slide is blank.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see it?
Yes, it's a white screen. We just have your white screen. Oh, there it is.
Here?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. So our first axe is the interconnected and sustainable agri-food system, and under this thematic we are having the first one is the Ferti Walim, which is a project has the aim to improve the fertility of Walloon cattle. A patent was introduced, and the team, the consortium of companies and researchers are waiting for answers. We also have a project called WALEP, which is developing a spelled value chain from farm to fork. So all actors implicated are companies or end users in Wallonia. Then the second axis is efficient and transparent industries. The first project that I would like to put in advance is the project called reuniram, which developed a very complete light recipe for plant growth, and which is finished the project. The consortium are commercializing the final result, and the same consortium also submitted and get granted from another project called EPIC recently. And the aim is to develop technologies under plant factories with robotizations and artificial intelligence. The third project we have now is the FluoFast, which develop innovative and efficient DNA food safety detections. So this is an ongoing project, but the consortium already obtained very interesting research results, and we're expecting in 1 year that they can develop more product. Our third strategic area is the nutrition and consumer. I would like to put in advance 3 ongoing projects. The first is Por Biota, which developed a natural formula to feed pigs in order to replace the use of antibiotics and to boost the animal's immune system. There's also a patent was introduced, and we are waiting for the answer. The second one is the nutrient microbiota. Actually, there was a bigger project with Canada and France, and under this scheme, we developed a regional project which has the aim to develop plant extracts for to counter metabolic and hepatic disorders. And we also obtained very interesting results, and we are expecting some end product which can be commercialized after the project phase. And the last one is the CASH. It's a very recent project, and the aim is to develop new food supplements based on citrus and algae in order to tackle cardiovascular disease. There's some key figures. As the other colleagues said, we are also have a focus on project, European project, and also regional project. We get 51 projects financed by the Walloon government, and we also obtained few European projects recently. And we are expecting more results from the Commission this year, because we submitted 7 European projects. And regarding our network, we are representing more than 200 members. So here's some figures that you can go through, and the presentations will be available after this meeting. So if you have any questions, you can contact me by my emails or my phone call, or you can also follow us through these 3 networks. And thank you, and wish you a good meeting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shai. It was very interesting. We now give the floor to Mecatech with Mr. Van Rooden.
Thank you very much. Hi, I don't know if you can see me and hear me all well?
Yes.
The presentation is all set, I suppose.
Yes, everything is working.
Perfect, thank you very much. I'll try to be quite brief, and the good thing is if you speak after some of your colleagues is that some of the work has been done already. So the mission is pretty much the same for Mecatech than what my competitiveness cluster colleagues have presented, so I can skip to that one. The difference with the previous speaker is that we're not a competitiveness cluster based on a sector. We're a cluster based on technology. So we cover 4 specific technological domains that are quite wide, as you can see. Everything linked with advanced materials that represents quite a lot of activities and companies in Wallonia. This includes also surface treatment and coatings. A second big part is linked with advanced manufacturing, as you can see. The third big axis, mechatronics. Those 2 previous ones are quite old, and one which is taking more and more space and importance is data technology. So basically everything linked with Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data applied to manufacturing activities. And this one is growing quite a lot, and this is already maybe 60 to 70% of the projects that are followed by the clusters today. Now, the network, to give you some ideas of the network, we have a bit less, I think, than 300 members. The composition is quite similar to what you've seen. The biggest chunk of the pie in the domain that we're covering is our SMEs. Here's the breakdown of the different aspects that you see. Now, in terms of projects that have been developed since the beginning of the cluster, you can see we have quite a big number of projects that have been developed, around 113. The biggest chunk of these projects are R&D projects, and the format is similar to what has been presented in the previous presentations. Now, the activities, it's quite close also. It's things linked to the biggest aspect is the setup of R&D projects, skills development, and international development, as you can see on this slide. Now, when I told you in the beginning that we're covering 4 big technologies and not specific clusters, what you need to know is because we're covering all these very large technologies, the applications domains that we're covering, they're quite wide. We have a lot of people active in manufacturing, many people developing projects also with us in medical device, energy and construction, in defense, also quite a lot, and in the aspects of reverse metallurgy. One of the big, let's say, axis that's a hot topic, let's say, is everything linked with Industry 4.0. It's been, I think, going on now for us since 6 to 7 years now, because this is a very good agglomeration of the different technologies that are being developed in projects, from advanced manufacturing and materials, let's say, to more the data treatment aspect and in the interaction with all the stakeholders around the manufacturing process. And that's a very big and key topic. And what we're trying to do here is not only to provide specific support in the innovation aspect, but also to develop a specific approach towards smaller SMEs, because that's quite a lot of the companies in Wallonia are actually small companies, and they need some support in, let's say, more basic stuff like lead management. And this is something that we're trying to provide them. And of course, we try to match people that are technology offers in all these domains and people that are technology users. And we do this on the regional level, but also quite a lot on the European scale, be it on training projects, be in, let's say, investment projects, but also being on, let's say, R&D projects on the European scale. And this is an example of a project that worked very well, that's going to finish in a few weeks. It's called IoT for Industry. And this is a project where, as a partner, we're able to speed up the dissemination of IoT technologies in manufacturing. And we could develop and fund ourselves some projects thanks to this Horizon 2020 project. More than 40 European projects have been funded, small proof of concepts. And we supported 7 projects in Wallonia involving 15 companies for funding. And this was very much appreciated in the ecosystem, and apparently also by the Commission, because it received last week the award of European Cluster Partnership of 2020 for the impact in this creation of link between European ecosystems of industry. So that's it. Basically, what we do, we work quite a lot on, and we focus quite a lot on European project because it's funding, and this is a very important fuel and elements to develop our partnership and collaboration. And we work also on exploration missions for members. Here is, I'm not going to go into detail on this specific slide. Here are a few elements of the international context, with quite a big focus on the, let's say, the blue banana area, the very dense industrial area of Europe that you can see here. And that's it pretty much from my side. We're always, even though we have this focus on Europe, always interested to discuss and to look at opportunities, especially when you talk about end users on local base in Brazil that are interested to discuss on R&D collaborations, which are quite close to the market. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Van Hoeden. So we hope this webinar will be the first step of a bright collaboration in the future with some potential partners in Brazil. So now we will give the floor to Mr. Bernard Piet from Logistics.
So good afternoon, everybody. I hope, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So being the last will oblige me to be quick as we are already behind schedule, but nevertheless, I will try to give you in a nutshell the presentation about what we are doing as a competitive cluster for transport, logistics and mobility. First of all, of course, I will not tell you where Belgium is. You all know this, but why is it important? And Thibaut just used a word that we use quite often in logistics is the blue banana. When you see the zone comprises 60% of the purchase power of Europe. It means that if you want to locate logistic activities with the possibility of reaching a large amount of customer in the minimum time, you should be in that zone. And as you can see, Belgium is straight in the middle, being very well located concerning transport and logistics, especially in connections with main seaports such as Antwerp and Rotterdam, and especially in Wallonia with the development of a cargo airport, which is Liège Airport, now being the 7th largest cargo airport in Europe. So logistics has been quite well developed in the last year, and also Belgium is performing quite well. This is a snapshot of what we call the Logistics Performance Index. This index is made every 2 years by the World Bank, and it makes a comparison on 160 countries on the logistics performance system as a whole, really as a logistics system. And as you can see, in 160 countries, Belgium is number 3. I just look, and in the last edition, Brazil was on place 56. So Belgium is quite well located, and it's due to the performance on the infrastructure, the performance of the customs, but also due to the other aspects such as track and trace, for instance. Concerning, I will not elaborate on what is a cluster because all my colleagues have explained what we are doing because we are all depending from the same policy, but our strategy, which is called Sustainable Logistics and Mobility to 2030, applies on different aspects of transport and logistics. The first one, we try to work on the supply chain as a leverage for competitiveness and sustainability, because as you can imagine, logistics is really at the base of one major issue, which is CO2 emissions. So we try to really work on the reduction of CO2 emission. And one first aspect is how supply chain is tackled inside companies and inside industrial companies. So we work with our project on the supply chain positioning inside organization and organization as a whole, but mainly companies, of course, digitalization and data management, and also supply chain management, such as also corporate social responsibility. The second pillar of our strategy applies on the transportation means and modes. Of course, as in many countries, the majority of transport in our region is done by road, but we also try to foster the transport by river and the transport by rail. And on the transportation means, we have, amongst other, quite a lot of activity in the railway industries, because we have some big actors such as Alstom, which are present in our region, and developing railway technologies. So this is one of the aspects also that we are working on, and working also on the conception of logistic equipment and building. And the last pillar that you can see under this slide is the specificity of transport and logistics, which is most of the time linked to infrastructure, which is in public hands. So we have to work also with public authorities to see how we can manage and improve the infrastructure. It is not only multimodal platform, but also the use of data, such as, for instance, open data coming from the public organization, which can make these data available for the private sectors in able to develop applications, for instance. And of course, in our sectors, the political and regulatory framework has a lot of importance. So this means that we have developed different activities on our side. Of course, as you can see in the purple bullet, we have the collaborative projects as all our colleagues, but beside of this, we also developed other activities such as diagnostics in companies. So we have a program in which we can perform small diagnostics on 2 days in companies and bringing them recommendations to optimize their supply chain. We have implemented in Belgium a program which has been developed in the Netherlands, which is called Lean and Green. And this program allows also companies and helps companies to set up an action plan to reduce their CO2 emissions by 20% in 5 years. And the last program that we have developed in the last year is a program which is called Multimodal Wallonia, where we try to work on the diversification of transportation modes. As I told you, many companies are active only with road transport, and we try to bring these companies and to bring these goods from the road to other transportation means such as river and also rail, but also it can be inside cities with cargo buys. So this is really what we try to focus on. And of course, what we are aiming at is optimize the economic performance, but in our sector, and this makes us very specific, we have also to work on an environmental performance. And both are going hand in hand, and you cannot have an environmental performance if you don't work first on the economic performance. So in this, we have around 360 members. As I mentioned to you also, we are not only related to transport companies, transport and logistics companies are representing around 40% of our members, but our members are also infrastructure manager, IT companies, technological companies, and also, as my colleague, universities and research centers. So far, we have been around 30 projects which have been financed by the regional government. Concerning international collaboration, I've been to Brazil last year. It was quite an interesting experience. And in the last year, we have most of the time developed contacts with China. You should know that, for instance, Alibaba has decided to set up a distribution center in our region to serve their global markets. And we have been also active on other countries such as Canada and Germany. So I thank you for your attention, and I will stay available for more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piet. As we are running out a bit late, we will go to the third part of this webinar with the presentation of FAPs. Now we will hear a representative from FAPERJ, Mr. Gerson Lima or Mrs. Vania Pashkoalin. Sorry for the pronunciation. I give you the floor.
Okay, good morning to the Brazilians and good afternoon to our colleagues in Europe. I'll share my presentation. Works. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I'll make it very brief, of course. So FAPERJ is the research state funding agency of the state of Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is shares with Minas Gerais the second position in terms of economy in Brazil. First is São Paulo. Our agency was created in 1980. Has a yearly budget that corresponds to 2% of the state tax. The mission, of course, is to support not only basic research, but also technology and innovation, and try to promote the interconnection between science, technology, innovation, and society. And the state of Rio de Janeiro, because the city was the capital for many years, we have almost 100 of universities, of institutes, etc., with many universities and institutes having positions very important in terms of Brazilian ranking and international ranking. We have, for example, in addition to the university, we have a Fiocruz Foundation, the Instituto Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, that is related to biomedicine and medical areas, including now working hard on the vaccine. Our budget had some problems in some years of some problems in the economy, but we were recovering these, and we were able to establish many of the international collaborations. So we have a budget that for this year was quite substantial, but we have to face the emergency of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we launched many calls for proposals that were very important. And I should say that many of them, the research projects were supported, people in research, not only in the state of Rio, but from other states and from other countries. So we had a total of just for to combat COVID-19, we had 4 calls for proposal, amounting up to now about 70 million of reais invested. And last year, as I mentioned, we started to with a better budget. We had several agreements. Sorry for the slide in Portuguese, and most of them under the using the structure of the Confap as the main coordinator of international cooperation between the state foundations in Brazil. So I just mentioned here some of the calls that were launched last year, some that are continued this year. Of course, some of the agreements we had to interrupt because of the problems of mobility this year, but we plan to recover, and all these calls are in progress, and including, I think I should mention, the agreement with WBI. In fact, we celebrated this agreement in March, I think a week before the World Health Organization declared the pandemic, and in fact, a few days after I was diagnosed with COVID-19, fortunately, I recovered very fast. And so we have we launched we signed the agreement, and we are planning now to launch the first call in January 2021, in 2 months. So one can see here, the ceremony was in fact was a seminar and a ceremony of signing that occurred in the Brazilian Academy of Science. One can see here Vania and both signing the agreement. So sorry for the short presentation, the fast presentation. I also want to excuse that I will have to leave the meeting because I have another meeting just the new times. So I enjoyed a lot the first presentation, and I can foresee a lot of cooperation in many areas of research and also of innovation and technology, and especially in the areas of biotechnology and nanotechnology. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lima. We are glad to see that you recovered well from COVID. So we'll hope for fruitful collaboration in the future. I now will give the floor to Mr. Horacio Forjas, who is Institutional Relations Advisor at FAPESP.
Well, I would like to greet everyone involved in this meeting and to express our appreciation for the opportunity of establishing another international partnership. This is, as we'll see throughout my presentation, one of the main priorities from Can we jump to the next slide? Many thanks. Well, FAPESP is the São Paulo Research Foundation. Its mission is to support research in all fields. It is funded by the government of the state of São Paulo, by the state of São Paulo, in the basis of 1% of all tax revenues. All proposals we receive are reviewed by peers throughout Brazil and around the globe, about 25,000 peers. The average time we take for decision is about 70 days with a 41% success rate. Support from FAPESP covers fellowships, academic research, and university industry joint R&D partnerships, and support is special to small and business research and development. Fellowships in Brazil, they are covering all sorts of academic support from doctors, master's sciences, and postdoctors. We have about 5,000, 6,000 per year, and abroad in the range of 1,200 per year. Academic research, we have centers, 17, long-term partnerships, 400 thematic dedicated shorter range, shorter time, and support covering young initiation scientists. In terms of a university industry partnership, we have what we call engineering research centers. There are 12, and they are long-run partnerships covering industries such as Embraer, Natura. These are Brazilian companies, but also British Gas and Shell, GSK, and PCBA companies. 115 small business enterprises are supported by, have been supported by FAPESP since the inception of this program in 1995, and we ran about 250 contracts on a yearly basis, many from startups. I would ask, please, the next slide to be inserted. As I did mention in the beginning of my presentation, FAPESP strongly prioritizes international research collaboration. The vision is to make the state of São Paulo an internationally recognized research hub. Collaboration entails sending and receiving scientists, but it is more than that. It allows full research projects with multi-year duration, conceived, written, presented, and developed together. The final objectives are to reach complex and rich partnerships, and to entail international competitivity. Next, please. This slide shows the vast range of international partnerships celebrated by FAPESP. They go and cover more than 160 institutions around the globe, as you can see, involving all the Americas, Europe, the Far East, and the Australian continent. Final slide, please. This slide shows how articles with international co-responsibility have been developed or produced since 1980, and it shows how they have increased in the last 10 years. And this is a clear consequence of how deeply FAPESP is dedicated to developing international partnership. So this does conclude my presentation. I would like to thank you and wish success in the meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forjas, for this overview of what FAPESP is doing in the state of Sao Paulo and around the world. I will now give the floor to Mr. Paulo Sergio Lacerda Peirao, President of the State Funding Agency of Minas Gerais.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity of presenting what FAPEMIG is, and also for listening to the activities that are being carried out in Wallonia, which are very impressive. And I congratulate our colleagues in Belgium. FAPEMIG is a state agency for funding research, and our mission, can you see it?
Yes, we can see and hear you.
Okay, this is our mission to foster and sponsor scientific research, technology development, and innovation for the progress of the state of Minas Gerais. It's a public foundation. It's funded by 1% of the revenues of the state, but at present, due to the catastrophic situation of the state finances, we are receiving less than that. It's linked to the Secretary for Economic Development of the state, and we have as international institutional partners the research institutions of the state, universities, and also innovation-based companies, including small, medium, and startups companies. Our activity is based on this tripod. We support the training and qualification of researchers. It's important to remember that the proportion of researchers relate to the population in Brazil is probably reaching the world average. It used to be much less than the world average. So it's a very important issue for FAPEMIG. But also we support research groups and research networks. This is basically comprises all activities that we could call the bottom-up proposals. We do call for projects, and we have these proposals, this type of bottom-up. But we also have activities in which we make the induction of strategic research. Researches in areas that are strategic for the state, and I'll mention those areas later in this presentation. For the qualification and training of researchers, we cover from students at high school level up to postdocs and visiting researchers. So we cover all the range of and levels of qualification. At present, these are the current bilateral collaborations of FAPEMIG. despite the economic problems that we are facing, we regard this as a very important activity. And these are just, I'm not going to go through all collaborations, but I should mention that we have with the University of Antwerp in Belgium, one of our ongoing collaborations. But we also have collaborations within the initiation of initiatives of Confap, which I'm also not going to mention each one. What we think of international collaboration, we like to do joint funding of research and development projects, usually 50-50, but also exchange of researchers, scientists, mobility, organization of scientific and technological seminars, symposia and workshops, exchange of policies and strategies and information and scientific publications and other forms of collaboration that we agree with our partner. These are the current priorities defined by the state. Our government has defined in general the focus on health, public security and education. But in the area of research, we have added artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and also all types of business-oriented scientific and technological development. These are mostly in the area of mining, which is a very important economic activity of the state, especially in the area of tailings, management of tailings, and also modernization of mining. Biotechnology is also a very important issue in Minas Gerais, and also the application of technology to agriculture. But within this framework of business-oriented scientific areas, we are open to other possibilities as well. So this is a brief presentation of what we are doing in FAPEMIG, and I thank you very much for the opportunity of sharing with you our activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berrao. It was very interesting, and we can see that there are a lot of synergies possible between your state and the Walloon region. So it will be very good and interesting to see the development in the future. We were now supposed to hear Mr. Robson Vieira, President of FAPEC, but he's really sorry he cannot join us today because he has a meeting, a last-minute meeting with the governor. So we'll go directly to hear Mr. Luis Marcio Spinoza, Chief of Science, Technology and Innovation Office of the State Funding Agency of Paraná.
Bonjour à tous, bonjour monsieur, dame. Bon, je vais parler en anglais, mais j'évolue quand même vous dire bonjour dans la langue française. Okay. We'd like to introduce the Araucaria Foundation, the Science and Technology and Innovation Funding Agency of Paraná State. Just a brief overview. Paraná State is located in the south of Brazil. We have the largest power generation in Brazil because of Itaipu hydroelectric generation. We are also the largest exporter of grains in Brazil, but Brazil is very well known by the production of grains, so Paraná is one of the most exporter. Second port also in general freight movement in Brazil, so logistics is of interest as we see before. 14% more or less increase in private companies open. So we are growing economy, growing enterprises. World reference in agrotechnology. Paraná, as in Brazil, we are doing a great effort on agrotechnology competitiveness. We have about 23 million invested on credits, incentives, and working capital for enterprise in the last year, 2019. We are the first in Brazil on industrial outputs in 19. Well, some drivers from the present mandate of our governor, Carlos Massa Jr. The first one is have the Paraná more innovative and modern, based on science and technology. This because we like to improve our foster the creation of wealth and well-being. Also, the competitiveness is always an agenda for us, as a lot of other states in Brazil, but always concerned with sustainable development. Some big numbers just for the Araucaria position. Today we have a science and technology system composed of about 22,000 Master in Science, 20,000 PhDs, 10 or more there, and about 3.5 research groups in all fields. We have invested in the last 6 years about $1 million on the research in this science and technology system. We have provided about 200 open calls for the research. We are very well known by the fellowships. Today we are closing to 27,000 fellowships for PhDs, Master in Science and other. About 5.4 R&D projects supported by our fund. Just to have a brief overview also, considering we have several rankings about innovation ecosystem or innovative efforts. This is one of the ranks that we are using. Paraná, together with Rio Grande do Sul and São Paulo, we are in the leading group for innovative proposals, innovative efforts in Brazil. Well, our strategy. First, we see the state organized by innovation ecosystem. Today we have 9 regional innovation ecosystem and 12 thematic or state innovation ecosystem. Usually those innovation ecosystems are identified using something very close to smart specialization that's popular in Europe. So our strategy to foster those innovation ecosystems is also something very close to Europe, based on consortium for R&D. We call arrangements. We call these, in Portuguese, Novos Arranjos de Pesquisa e Inovação, or NAPs. It's a kind of socio-technical approach. We can make a similar, like a Uber for science technology, or BAB for science and technology. So we have from one side a digital platform, but what is most important is our capital, intellectual capital, our research, about 20,000 PhDs. The idea with this strategy is improve mobilization, integration of assets we have in the territory, is the first layer, focused on creation of wealth and well-being, together with the partners. Many of them are governmental partners, but we work with industries, enterprises, and regions around the world. Well, we have an engagement with a commitment with developing priority areas for the government. And what we are looking at the end of the day is better return of investment on research and development. Well, to do all this, we use a typical quadruple helix approach, trying to focus on common interests of government, NGOs, enterprises, and our universities. Just take a close look on regions and assets. So Paraná has about, as I told you, 20,000 PhDs. 18,000 here is those that are located in the state system. We have 2,000 about in the industry itself. So about a relationship with inhabitants close to several countries in Europe. About 5,000 students in these systems. This is our most important assets. It's the intellectual capital. That behind we have also the social capital. about the infrastructure of science technology. We had in state today 7 state universities, 4 federal or national universities, 1 national institute. Most of them are multi-campus universities, and about 300 programs for PhD and Master in Science. Well, we use a digital platform, as I said before, to identify and organize tasking forces or researching forces for the needs we have to attend for. So this platform we called Hierarchy, so we can access each researcher, their production, the researching groups, the infrastructure, and so on. Here, just a look, we can find the production or the research itself by its entire curriculum vitae. Well, just a brief look on the second layer on innovation agenda. Well, we work with several great big industries. One of them is Itaipu. Itaipu is very now around the world, but also with other governmental enterprises. And Wallonie-Bruxelles, it's a potential partner for us. Our role here is make the connection with the innovation ecosystem or the science and technology innovation ecosystem. So we'd like to, we are very pleasant to know the priority areas that we are working on. The presentations during the first moment were very clarifying, and we see very common interests on this connection. The key areas or the priority areas for us at this moment, you see that are very close to some of them that were present before. We start the most important is agri-industry because of the economy of the state itself, followed by the biotech and health tech technology, or the medtech technology also is considered here. Renewable and sustainable energy, smart cities, and society 5.0. Those are what we call vertical areas, vertical knowledge areas, but we are also considering cross areas, knowledge domain cross areas such as digital transformation, that we saw you also are interested, and also with the responsibility to provide sustainable development. So the SDGs, sorry, are also considering in all the actions we do. So on behalf of our president, our CEO, Professor Ramiro Varrafti, our CFO, Jason Koch, and myself, thanks so much. We are open for the close partnership or close relationship with Wallonie-Bruxelles. And bon, si vous préférez, on peut parler aussi en français. On a une traduction de coopération en la langue française au Paraná. On a plusieurs années établi cette relation, donc soyez bienvenus. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Mr. Spinoza. It was really interesting to see the synergies and the similarities between Paraná and Wallonia with the regional ecosystems and the 12 thematic targeted. Now we'll give the floor to Amaury Bogo, Director for Science, Technology and Innovation of FAPESC, so the state funding agency of Santa Catarina. So, Mr. Bogo.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Yes, and the presentation is okay?
Yes, also, we have access to your screen.
Okay, good morning, bonjour, and très bien avec toi. And I would like, on behalf of our president, Professor Fabio Honthausen, to say that it's a pleasure for us to be here and to join this absolutely interesting presentation. okay? I don't want to repeat the same feature that my previous Brazilian colleagues has presented about our foundation, because most of the Brazilian foundation has the same mission, objective, and funding in different fields of research. In this case, we decided just to give some highlights about Santa Catarina State, because most of the international partners, when talking about Brazil, think about it, São Paulo, Rio, Minas Gerais, and further on to Rio Grande do Sul. And most of the time, they don't have any idea whatsoever about Santa Catarina State, because we have 1% of our budget belong for tax reviewing. All this money must cover our support in local economy. In this case, we want to highlight some points, some figure about our state, which is mainly very, very small, and you can see all this information regarding the size and the place of human development index, our 6th largest gross domestic product, and basically our economy run around technology and innovation, agribusiness, tourism, and industry, especially textile, ceramic, and metal mechanic, okay? About our state competitiveness, we can see in these features from 2011 to 2020, Santa Catarina has been rise drastically and remain in the 2nd place according to 10 strategic pillar for national development. And we can highlight especially the 1st place of public security, social sustainability, infrastructure, human capital, education, and innovation, right? If you look at this figure, you can see some data about the economy activity. If you look the big numbers, it's the state rate, and a small one nearby to the Brazilian flag, you see the national average, and you can see the industrial sale, importation, unemployment rate has been quite significant and very high compared with the national average. Right? Santa Catarina industry, it's very, very unique, and we are the 4th position regarding numbers of enterprise and numbers of working. 85.4%, the best survival rate enterprise in Brazil. Some other data regarding our industry, you see that our industry is responsible for 54% of local exportation, 25% are about gross domestic product, and nearly 36% of the workers are inside our industry, and you reach nearby 50,000 different industry. The 2nd main economic strategy is technology in sector, and you can see that Blumenau and Florianopolis are the 2 big hubs when you compare with startups, compare with other states. If you see, we are just running behind São Paulo with 28%, and Santa Catarina just in the 2nd place with 19.92. When you look at the biggest cities, you see that Florianopolis and Joinville are a very, very small city when you compare with São Paulo. We're talking about 500,000 people, and you look at São Paulo, you can reach 12 million. In this case, our ratio regarding startups either compare with the national average, and when you compare with this local city, it can be absolutely significant. And other main product from Santa Catarina is agribusiness, and we have a very, very variety activity regarding business, and we are the largest national product of apple, onion, fish, oyster, mussels, the 2nd largest producer of tobacco, poultry, pear, peach, garlic, and irrigation rice. The 3rd about honey and grapes, barley, and palm and beet. And we are the main fishing pole regarding in the compare with national average, okay? And the third more significant income from the state is the tourist potentiality. If you see the feature, 12% of our gross domestic product belongs to the tourists, and we can find out more than 160,000 different jobs spread around. Santa Catarina has been raised 12 times the best state for travel in Brazil. And FAPESC is not different for the other colleagues. We invest in different objectives like innovation, research, award, diffusion, and human source. Okay? And I would like to thank, and I would like to be very precise and don't run out of my schedule. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bogo, for this interesting presentation. I would like to notice that to highlight, sorry, that we heard here 5 representatives from FAPs, but they are more than those 5. There are 26 in total in Brazil, and just also to highlight that the agreement that we signed with Confap will be open to all of the FAP. So now we will hear Mr. Pierre Demoitier, Program Manager and the Head Public Administration for Research in Wallonia. The floor is yours. We cannot hear you. Mr. Demoitier?
Allô, allô.
Voilà, nous vous entendons.
Ah, ok, parfait, nickel. So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I will speak about the BWARE program. BWARE is a mobility scheme program for PhD students. Don't worry, it's not dangerous. BWARE is just the acronym of Become a Walloon Researcher. And in fact, this is the second program. This program is co-funded by the European Commission and by the Walloon region in the frame of the Marie Curie actions. I won't speak about the landscape of the research and development in Wallonia. It's already done. So I will skip those slides, and I guess the presentation will be spread among us later by Julie. So we have 4 universities, it's already mentioned. We have 19 university colleges, it's already mentioned too. We have research centers. We have most important R&D topics, it's already mentioned too. A few words about the first BWARE program. We have hired a little bit more than 90 researchers, 64 male and 29 female researchers. We had a little bit less than 150 publications. 280 experts were involved in the peer reviewing of the program. 16 patents submitted and 2 spin-offs were created. The nationalities of the researchers were coming from almost all over the world. You can see here on the map. We had researchers coming from, and sorry for the pronunciation, from the State University of Santa Catarina in Florianopolis, from Ceará State University, and 2 researchers coming from Rio Grande do Sul State University. On those, you have 2 testimonies. I will skip it, but you can watch the video at your ease later. And now I will speak about the second part, the second program. What are the objectives of the program? It's very easy, very simple. We want to attract about 75 highly qualified researchers in Wallonia or in Brussels in an innovative project. And we want to promote, of course, the economic benefits of through the research, and promote research and relationship between the R&D unit from the researcher, in this case from Brazil, and relation between Brazil and Wallonia. All researchers are eligible, but they must have a 4 years experience, or they must hold a PhD. And the second condition is to not having spent more than 1 year in Belgium during the last 3 years before the submission. What are the eligible host units? It's very easy. All Walloon SMEs are eligible, but the researcher had to work in collaboration with a research center, one of the 19, see the slide a little bit before, or with one of the French-speaking university or one of the French-speaking university college. The researcher will have a contract, of course, 1 year and 6 months to 3 years, will perform the half of this time in the company and the rest in the academic research center. And through this collaboration, through this contract, will become, let's say, a kind of ambassador of Wallonia in the frame of his collaboration, of her collaboration with the region. All topics are eligible. They are also bottom-up based, and they must demonstrate an innovative aspect or enable technology transfer. Therefore, we have a budget, of course, 20 million euro. 20 million euro, it means that one research contract, and I would like to highlight, it is a research contract and not a grant. Research contract, it means a gross salary about 80,000 euro, about 5,000 Brazilian real a year, a mobility allowance, and a bench fee that covers all the expenses that are linked to the supervision and to the mentorship of the researcher. The first two calls are now over, but the next one will be open next Monday, the 1st of December, Tuesday, sorry, next Tuesday, the 1st of the 2nd of December, and will close on the 2nd of April of next year. And there will be another call in 2021 that will close on October, and there will also close next call in 2022. For the first calls of this year, 2020, we had two researchers coming from Brazil, and I would like to thank the collaboration of Julie, therefore, one coming from the University of Rio de Janeiro, and one coming from the National Institute of Space Research of São José dos Campos, sorry for the pronunciation. And we also have research coming from Austria, from India, from Egypt, from France, from Italy, from Germany, as you can see on the map here. The evaluation process is very easy and very simple. It's very traditional too. First of all, we instruct the submission on an internal way, then an international peer review, and finally a selection committee. The criteria are the candidate, the quality of the candidate, the host unit, the project, the impact, and the sustainable development of the project. You can find all the information of this mobility scheme on our website in French or in English, www.bewrejobs.be, but also on Facebook. We also have a LinkedIn account. We have here two videos you can watch later, and we also have an advertising on Euraccess, the portal of mobility from researcher. that's it. I remain at your disposal. I guess I have to speak 5 minutes, and I think I'm just on time. You can send me an email, and I will answer all your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Demoitier. Indeed, you respected the 5 minutes. Thank you for that. I will now give the floor to Mr. Thierry Lemoine, who is International Relations Advisor at the same ministry. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, and thank you, Pierre, my colleague Pierre. Yeah, okay, minutes. So I'm for let's say initiatives, Iranets, among other things, in the Department of Research of the Public Service of Wallonia. So we are both program owner and program manager of a lot of initiatives, and especially these four Iranets. We present these Iranets, of course, because we are both Brazil and Wallonia members of initiatives. So first of all, first of the four is COREnet. Please, yeah. So COREnet is, let's say, quite an old network of collaborative research funding agency created in 2005 under the FP6. And we are, let's say, supporting since 9 years now, thanks to the coordination of the German Ministry of Economy. So Germany is a very important partner in this consortium. It's managed by 5 persons from an agency funded by this ministry. We are, let's say, a core group of about 10 to 12, let's say, funding agency, included notably Embrapi from Brazil, but we are, of course, very open to newcomers. Newcomers mean, let's say, funding agencies, of course. So the purpose is, the target is to support and improve the coordination of the collective research through the launch of calls for projects aimed to strengthen the competitiveness of companies. Of course, the companies, especially SMEs, are the targets of all initiatives are present here. And so collective research means responding to a common challenge coming from a sector or a group of SMEs. So you see the consortium is quite large now, and once again it's open to newcomers. Thank you, Pierre. So to have just an idea, the average budget per participant is 300,000 euros about, and bilateral or multilateral projects are also, of course, allowed, but most of the proposed projects are bilateral ones. So the projects are a duration of 24 months maximum. Since, let's say, quite the beginning, we have 220 projects funded, so it's a quite large funding initiatives with a lot of SMEs involved in what we call the user committee. User committee must represent at least 5 SMEs by country, region, by projects. And of course, the user committee, as I said, must be systematically involved in the direction of the research of the project. Thank you. Very important, of course, very pragmatic. The new deadlines, we have 2 deadlines a year, end of March and end of September. So the next one will be end of next March 2021, and funding decisions will be August. and the start of the project from October, let's say. What is also very important to say that the success rate is very high, sometimes more than 60%. So don't hesitate to take part of the calls. Just to remember, a minimum of 2 research centers from 2 different countries must be in the projects, and in Wallonia, at least 1, let's say, what we call accredited research centers, just presented by Pierre 5 minutes ago. The 19 research centers in Wallonia. So don't hesitate to contact me or my colleague Thomas Gerrard in that framework. So that was CORNET. For IRA SME, so let's say that IRA SME is, let's say, a cousin program of CORNET, but it's dealing with collaborative research, meaning not collective one, but cooperative, meaning that it's involved in the project with or without a research center. So the target is to strengthen the competitiveness position of the SMEs, seeking easier access to the facilities offered by financing and supporting research, by establishing full cooperation with research and technology centers at an international level. Once again, that's why it's a cousin, let's say, initiative. Call it is that goals, so deadlines, so specific thematic, and it's focused on tech companies. Let's say you can see that the consortium is also quite large now, and Brazil is included. I think it's Embry in. It's also open to newcomers. The next deadlines, I already say that it's end of March, and we try to keep the funding decision 6 months after the deadline. So once again, do not hesitate first to have a look at the website of the program, and to contact me afterwards if you have any questions. So the MIRANET, it's another program, but this program is managed by my colleague Pierre, and it is still fed by the European Commission. The two, one and RISME, as I said, are now self-supporting. So the target of this program is supporting and improving the connection of research related to material science and engineering. What the Commission called the CATS. So it's NMP, and the consortium is very, very large, as you can see. And for Brazil, it's only Sao Paulo, and then I think FAPEST, which is involved with a lot of other countries, as you can see. So the next deadline, it's next June. The funding decision will be January 2022. You can see the for the duration of the projects. And to be eligible, you have to have in a consortium in the project 3 R&D actors from 2 different countries or region with at least 2 SMEs on board. So do not hesitate, of course, to have a look at the website and contact Pierre. So the last one will be ERAMIN, also managed day-to-day by Pierre. So the target is strengthening the mineral raw materials community through the coordination of research and innovations programs on non-fuel and non-food raw materials, metallic construction, and this industrial material that the consortium is very, very large. And for Brazil, it seems that Brazil and also perhaps Embrapi, I think Embrapi is involved. Thank you. And the next deadline for this this program is the 1st of April for the pre-proposal. So I think it's two-step initiatives, meaning that you have first to, let's say, to write a pre-proposal. This pre-proposal will be analyzed and validated or not by experts. And can you see it?
That's it.
We had the last minutes. We had some difficulties to hear you.
Yes, that's my laptop, but I was finished. So
okay.
Just a couple of seconds. So if you have questions.
I'm sorry, Mr. It's really.
Us or.
I'm sorry, but the sound is really.
You can hear?
Yes, sometimes, but sometimes it's a bit difficult.
So I think he wanted to say the next
Okay,
deadline for the pre-proposal.
Yep.
No,
yes.
Thierry, stop. Thierry,
Yeah.
stop.
You can hear me.
So he wanted to say the next deadline. No, Thierry, tais-toi. He wanted to say the next deadline is fixed on the 1st of April next year, the pre-proposal. So it's a two-steps scheme, and the funding decision is expected at the end of the next year. And do not hesitate to have a look at the website. It's a new website. It's a new call, the third call of ERAMIN. And if you want to have more information, do not hesitate to contact me or to contact the Brazilian correspondent. I don't remember his name, but it's mentioned on the website of ERAMIN. And we will be happy if we will have for the first time a collaboration in the frame of those calls, CORNET, IRSME, MRANET, and ERAMIN. It will be the first time for us to have a collaboration between Brazil and Wallonia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you, Mr. Lemoine and Mr. Dematier, for those presentations. We hope that this will be the first step of future collaborations. This is closing the presentations of all the participants. We would like already to thank you, all of you, for your very interesting presentations. Some of you already wrote some contact details in the chat. For example, Mr. Cedric Bister did it already. So you can we can also after this webinar share the contact details of each other to keep in touch. But we can give you now the floor for question. I haven't seen any question in the chat yet. So if you want to ask any questions for the participant that remains here, because we had a few people that had to leave for other meetings, please feel free to raise your hand and ask the question.
Thank you, Alexandre. I have one question for Pierre and Thierry. I just wanted to check that for IRA SME program, if only SMEs are allowed to participate or also larger companies. In my understanding, large companies were allowed to.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for IRA SME, as in the title, for SMEs, but we have to have at least one SME on board. If one big company is is coming, why not? But it's not really the target of the program.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? If not, we can still answer some questions after the webinar. You have our email address, and especially Julie's one. So I think we will close this webinar. Again, we want to thank you all for participating and sharing all your experiences and priorities and your institution today. We would like to give a special thank you to Julie, who co-organized the meeting, and Elisa Natola from Confap that also have been very helpful for the organization of this meeting. And last but not least, we didn't see him, but Cédric Capet from WBI, who also did all the technical issues today. So thanks to the three of you, and thank you everyone. So have a nice end of day, and I hope we will see you soon in another webinar, or physically, we hope.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Alexandre. I would like to add something. First, we are preparing the Horizon Europe, so please feel free to contact me in order to identify partners in Wallonia, and also that this session was recorded and we are intending to disseminate so other researchers and foundations can have access to all the information that was shared. So thank you everyone for participating.
Can we also have the presentations, of the PowerPoint presentations?
Yes,
yes, we'll send a joint email and ask for all presentations and for sharing them.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you everyone. I think it was a very good webinar, a very good sharing of information. And I'm sure that we will have a very, very productive partnership. We are going to strengthen our partnership between Confap and WBI, and other FAPs that were not here today will also be on board. So we are looking at a very good future perspective here. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Very much.
Thank you. Merci.
Bye.
Merci.